welcome to Down and Out but Statistically Average podcast. We're two friends. We are turning our coping mechanisms into content, one episode at a time. I'm Connor, lifelong Notre Dame football fan, fully prepared to get my hopes up way too early every season. My co-host Nate, he's a Texas Rangers loyalist who's aged about 10 years thanks to bullpen meltdowns, some late-inning chokes. We're not analysts. We're definitely not experts. No, we're close. We're just two guys with some mics, and we got some strong opinions here. So, today we're going to start off talking about the Texas Rangers and how they have been doing the past 2 weeks. So in our first episode, we talked a lot, and we just dove deep into what's going on with the Rangers, what are their issues with hitting, where are they at, how can they improve this by plate discipline, and other things like this. For my section, we talked about a lot of the different contexts of the history of Notre Dame football. We talked about just a lot of the different players, some of the recruiting systems. So we will go and talk a little bit more about that. But first, my friend Nate, what's going on, my brother? How you doing?
Oh, I am living the dream, even if the Texas Rangers are not. But frankly, that's kind of why I'm doing this in the first place. So we're doing fantastic. How about you, bro? How you feeling today?
I mean, as somebody who's getting acquainted with this Ranger fandom, this is a tough fandom. Now, for context, guys, my buddy here has given me a documentary to watch about the Rangers, and so it gives you a little bit more of the backstory of being a lifelong Rangers fan and a lot of the downs that have come with that, man. So, but first, before we get into all that, we're gonna go and talk about the last 2 weeks and how these Rangers are doing, man. So, go for it, man. What do you got for us? Shoot.
Oh my goodness, there's so much there, but in the interest of keeping things to the point as much as I can, in contrast to last time around, my last segment. All right, so here's where we stand. More or less the same. I know that a lot of what we talked about last time around was hitting woes.
Yes.
And there are some bright spots, some bright sparks in that area that have been just tempered by some late inning chokes. That's an extra inning chokes, which has been very, very weird. Just in the past 2-3 weeks, we've had so many extra inning games. But the bottom line is we have seen an uptick in offensive explosions. We've had several games that were 6 or more runs just in the past 2 weeks. And there's plenty to actually go there about. But what I'm just really excited about is, hey, we are scoring games. We're doing fairly well. We are still holding just below 500, but we've got a tremendous opportunity ahead of us, not only from an offensive and divisional standings standpoint, really,
right,
but also when it comes to the state of Texas in general. As everybody is likely aware at this point in time, as of this past week, at the time of this recording, that is, there was a bunch of flooding in central Texas, and we had several hundred deaths. It was a massive issue. And what's really nice is that we get to do a Silver Boot series. So what we're in the midst of right now is a weekend series against our state rivals, the Houston Astros.
Yeah.
But while there's plenty of hot tempers and such that can flare as a result, what's really nice is there's several elements of it that we're all trying to come together as a state and to just be supportive of each other, because it's not like either city was necessarily that affected by it, but it is something that marks the state of Texas. Is when there's tragedy, it really does bring us all together. So where I'm at is in an overall sense, I still love watching my Texas Rangers. So let's get a little bit further into it. What are your initial thoughts, though, Connor?
Yeah, man. And obviously, as you mentioned, Nate, the tragedy that's happened recently in Texas. Obviously, our prayers go out to all those affected. It's just absolutely horrible. With that, man, I've seen a couple of these Rangers games. Specifically, I watched the Padres series, and I sort of saw that streakiness that you had mentioned in the first podcast, because I knew to look out for that. And I was also looking to see, okay, how is their plate discipline? Are they chasing? Are they going after those pitches that they just shouldn't be chasing after? But there was still, I saw that continued habit taking place with the Rangers. Now, the encouraging part is when you talked about there has been a little bit of that offensive explosion, because that was one of your key takeaways of what needs to happen moving forward as of 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And you've seen, to what I saw some of the almost like the home runs kind of returning, like the big firepower that really really is the, I guess, one of the trademarks of this Texas Rangers program the last 2 years.
Yep.
So that was cool to see as somebody who's not a Rangers fan at all. I got to see some of those guys really step up. There was this, I forget the exact game I was watching, but your second baseman, remind me his name.
Marcus Semien?
Semien, yes.
Semien.
There was this one ball that was hit, and he goes up and he does a backhand boom, grabs it.
I know
beautiful, exactly. Beautiful. And I said, that's why they paid that guy a bunch of money. That's why they acquired him.
Yes.
He's really good. He's a great player. So you guys, I say that because you guys have tons of talent. Like I got almost a similar feel from our last podcast of what you told me is like they're right at the doorstep, but they're just getting in their own way, and it just seems like maybe it's the leadership or something with the coaching or a cultural thing, but it just maybe they're just in a kind of a slumpish kind of season, it's hard.
Yeah, it's not, because here's the thing, it's not even necessarily a slump. This is where we've been more or less since the beginning of the season, at least the first couple of weeks of the season, we went ham. It was mostly due to our pitching staff. But now our pitching is kind of equalizing. Pitching has been, in the past 2 weeks, it's still been good, but we've had some dicier outings by even DeGrom and of course Corbin, and to a certain extent poor Jack Leiter, but he's rookie kind of guy, just trying to get his feet under him in the majors. But what again, and to your point, what I'm really encouraged by is, even with some of the really, really disappointing losses, I mean, walk-off loss on July 8th, July 8th versus the Angels, walk-off loss 6-5, and then we also had a walk-off loss against the Padres. It's like, but here's the thing: what that tells me is that we are staying in these games. That's the thing. We are right there. We're right on the cusp, but the clutch hitting aspect and/or the We have to stop relying on the eliteness of our pitching, because I do believe I oversold our pitching staff in our last segment, last episode, because it's not that we're necessarily absolutely top tier, elite, exceptional. No, we just rebuilt basically our entire bullpen, and starting rotation is almost entirely different from last year, even from 2024.
Right.
And compared to that, and with all that in mind, that's why I call us elite. So that's just a side note for all those Ranger fans and fans of other truly elite pitching staffs, such as, oh my gosh, the Yankees, as well as those god awful Dodgers. I just hired a guy on my team at my company, and he's from California. He's a Dodgers fan, so it's like, oh man, it's not going well so far with that guy. But that being said, all of that goes to say, I love that we are hitting for power, and what I am seeing, even just last night. Did you catch the game last night though, Connor?
I didn't catch the game last night.
Okay.
No.
Because last night we had, I can't remember exactly how many it was, but it was at least 4 walks that we ran, that we culminated in. I mean, even just in the first inning, the first scoring of the game we got because Evan Carter, our rookie, the little savior back in the 2023 postseason, Evan Carter, our little skinny guy, he did a tremendous outing of play, just in terms of plate discipline in the very first inning. And he stuck with it after it was more than 7 pitches, and then he finally found what he wanted and managed to hit a single out there in the first inning, and it drove in the first 2 runs, and that really helped to set the tone for it. But even yesterday as well, I mean, we're seeing, you mentioned Marcus Semien. He went 4 for 5 with an RBI and 3 runs back on July 11th versus the Angels. Man, we absolutely wiped the floor with them, man. 11-4, my word. But we had Adolis Garcia. He's had back-to-back games with home runs, which he's been really, really quiet in terms of his bat lately. Like, we've heard a lot of inklings about, we might end up trading him and things like that. But if he continues this streak, this power hitting streak, along with, Wyatt Langford had his 2-run shot, his 15th of the year just last night, and July 12th versus the Astros in our 7-3 win, which was absolutely incredible. So we're seeing it. But again, it's those walk-off losses. It's those we're not capitalizing on the opportunities that are being presented to us. I'm seeing that we're stealing bases. I'm cautiously optimistic about our running game and about our ability to increase our plate discipline. I am seeing more of it. It's not perfect. It still has a long way to go, I would say, because we got a lot of young guys. But I'm seeing stuff that's I'm seeing just a little bit. I'd like to see if we follow patterns of past seasons where we fold like a cheap suit after the All-Star break, or if we go back even further in Rangers history and it's one of those things where, hey, all we needed is just a good break. We take the All-Star break and then we come back literally and figuratively swinging. It's so cheesy to say that. I'm sorry, but that's what I'm really looking to see is, okay, the hitting is starting to come into its own, but it's not yet finding its groove. We're still losing these walk-off games, these close games. It's not that the bullpen is blowing out. It's not that that's not where the real issue is. It's just, is everything really clicking across the board? Is there that synergy, that resilience, that consistency that we've paid for, the consistency that we fought for, that we're still fighting? What does it take to be that one little catalyst to shoot us to the top of the division?
Absolutely. And it's funny, when you were saying that, my mind immediately went to how the Rangers were in 2010 a little bit. So, like, looking back on the history of the Rangers, it provides you, like, with a further context and really just an understanding of, as a fan base, why you feel the way you feel right now. Like, a common theme within the Rangers franchise history, whether it was in the early 90s or 1996, there was a little bit in the early 2000s, obviously that stretch you had 2010, 2011, 2012. Like, there was always these, like, cautiously optimistic moments that you guys have just consistently experienced. And then 2023, the glass ceiling broke and you guys made it through, and it was like the okay, we've finally arrived. But it kind of feels like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, it kind of feels like a little bit of
regressing,
but hopefully not fully. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. No, that's exactly, and that's why I keep hedging and doing all of this, and that's why, statistically average is, that's why I agreed with you on that name, and because it's just, that's where we kind of end up falling is hey, we have these, we have decent runs and we've got a playoff window. But this is not, right now, we are not, by any stretch of the imagination, a dynasty. And we never were, not even in 2023. The closest we came was our 10, 11, 12 seasons and years, when back in the days of Beltre and Andrus and Hamilton and Cruz and even Odor. Yeah. It was back in those legendary days and seasons, teams that we're never going to get back. And not to say that I'm trying to, be pouring water or sand on this fire, because I do see talent. That's the thing, though, is there's so much talent, but it just isn't being facilitated properly. It isn't. This is a team full of superstars, but superstars don't win games. I gave you that homework. Did you get a chance to watch the movie Miracle, by the way? That homework assignment you did?
I did, yes.
That team, obviously, that's a highly, highly Hollywoodized, version of the actual story, but the core passion behind it, the heart, the idea behind it, it was a bunch of amateur guys. But what Herb Brooks put together for that team, for that 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey team, what he put together was, they were stars, but they weren't necessarily. But there was that guy way back towards the end, right at the cutoff date, that they were like bringing on super late, and it scared everybody. But then the team, multiple guys on the team came to Herb Brooks, and they were like, "We're a family. We're a family," and that's what convinced. And of course, that was the dramatized conversation about it. But that's the idea. Is, man, the reason why it wasn't about top talent. It wasn't about guys that can, in the words of, to quote the movie, it wasn't just about building a team of guys that can flat out play. Yeah, that's what the Texas Rangers have right now. We can flat out play. We can hit insanely well. We can have those breakout games. But the consistency, the reliability, the chemistry between the team members, especially when it comes to the batting order, when it comes to the lineup, that is what has not yet come into its own. So whatever it is, the mindsets, the leadership, the coaching, probably the front office, the players themselves,
all the above. Yeah.
It's probably a little bit of all of it, and I don't think there's going to be any one thing or person that pulls it all together. But this is not a return. This is not the new generation of 2011. This is not the resurgence of that. This is something totally different. So I'm just trusting Chris Young and Bruce and good old Bochy, and putting a little bit of faith in Brett Boone, our new hitting coach, because it's starting to, whatever he's doing is starting to pay results. But we're starting to patch up some of the things that are leaking. But just because the boat holds water doesn't mean it's gonna be catch the wind. Doesn't mean the wind is gonna catch in the sails at the same time. And that's what we need right now. Does that make sense?
No, it does, because the main thing that I saw, and just this is again from a lay person who doesn't really know Texas Rangers fandom or the team too intricately yet. I will, listening to this one Nate away guy talk, but it's amazing. Like when you see so much talent, I mean, you could see the talent on the field with, obviously, I mentioned before, like that one catch by Simeon. I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, and the guy's like jacked. Like, I mean, he's just, these, you can see physically and also in their play, their skill, they're there. Like the hitting's there. As you said, it's been very streaky. It's been up and down. It's been a little bit more explosive as of the last 2 weeks, which obviously for you as a Rangers fan is super encouraging. But what so one of the things I try to do when I watch sports is look at sort of like the micro interactions and how people kind of are looking at each other, looking at the connection level between the players and coaches.
Those little shots of the dugout and stuff, how they're talking. Yeah, stuff like that, yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. Or like, let's say one guy passes him on the plate and they might dap up, but like that stuff is expected, like you expect to see that stuff. One thing I noticed was that there wasn't, like, okay, I'll give you an example. Like, when I watched this past year, and you watched the Dodgers team, which, I mean, that Dodgers team was just ridiculously loaded.
Yeah.
They had that chemistry as well. They had that, you could see that they had a trust in each other. Now, their talent, I think, just clearly was head and shoulders above everybody, as annoying as that is to hear. But, like, even the team that they played, New York, like the Yankees, like, you could see that even the Yankees that year, the Brooklyn Bombers, like, they had that sort of like high level trust in each other, and you see it like almost in like their shoulders and like just the way they carry themselves. Like I don't
their
see
energy,
that.
their aura,
the aura about them. There's an ease, and with the Rangers players, I don't see that aura of an ease yet. Now it could develop, as you've been saying. Like this could just be a thing where, and you've been on teams before. Like sometimes you have to keep losing and just coming against that wall over and over and over again, and then sometimes when you, as a team, hit that wall enough and you're like, okay, like, we can't hit this wall again. We need to go over, around it, under, I don't care. We need to figure this out. But then that, as you know, takes leadership. It takes, who are the leaders on the Rangers teams that could possibly ignite that? Who do you think?
Who is the team culture leader? And the answer must be, because of the lack of culture, that there is no culture leader. There is no senior guy that probably somebody on the team, some sort of old, real old veteran. That's not just not maybe Simeon is probably the closest we got. Maybe Jonah Heim, our catcher. Really, I love his vibe, his energy. He's somebody who's so approachable. If I could meet one guy from the team, it'd be Jonah Heim. Hands down. Seems like the nicest guy ever. But anyway, with all that being said, what you're saying, I would say is spot on. To give you an example of why I believe that you're correct, it was a contentious thing that was said on a podcast by a former Texas Rangers player. Actually, he was on our team as of early this season. His name is Kevin Pillar.
Okay.
He was kind of a wayward journeyman, kind of bouncing around at different teams and such, and he wasn't hitting like as well as we wanted. I was kind of bummed out that we ended up cutting him, because he bounced to another team, but then he's now officially retired because it's just career's reached the end of the road. But anyway, he was on a podcast. It was a week or two ago, and a couple of the comments that he made were directly talking about the team culture. It was that he mentioned, since he's a journeyman, he's been on a bunch of different teams, one season here and there and stuff. And I have to say this all with a grain of salt. It's part of what he said probably is out of a bit of bitterness. And so anyway, with all the hedging out of the way, what he said, Kevin Pillar, was like, hey, none of these people really, like, they didn't really say hi to each other. They didn't do exercises or practice together unless they were really like required to. I'm heavily paraphrasing what he's saying, because again, I don't even have it necessarily pulled up, but it was something I heard in a podcast of this podcast that he was talking about. I didn't even listen to it myself, and but basically that's what he was expressing, was like, hey, it's not like they hated each other, and it's not like people were mean, but he was referencing implicitly the chemistry. The chemistry aspect just wasn't there. It's not like it's not like it was all for one, but it felt a lot more like a closed off culture. And of course, he was new to the team. He had just been signed in the off season. It's he was only around for like a month or two.
But to your point, Nate, like
he read it.
Even more so as the new guy there, and even somebody who may not be as the most important. If you have that good team culture, that not as important guy who's new should immediately feel welcomed and like feel that love. And if you don't feel it, like you said,
you're not going to, and you think about new people that we bring up from our farm system and such, how much harder it is to break through. Because here's the thing, when you have support behind you from your team members, how much easier is it to go off? How much more comfortable is it? How much more are you incentivized to play hard, to work hard, to practice hard, to go hard, just to hit hard, to run hard, to be getting after it and really hustling. When you have a team that is actually excited and really wants to support and get you to those wins, get you to those clutch moments, looks forward to it, as opposed to just, hey, you're shaking in your boots all the time because you got a bunch of superstars that you don't really know, that you don't really trust, that are okay, that are adults, but they're just leaps and bounds ahead of you. You're more likely to choke and lose your shot, even though they have the talent. But people that are brought up from the minors, they don't just magically turn into all-stars. The first round, the very top draft pick, maybe they will. The crazy, who's the guy that we hate from the Phillies? Oh my God, the most unlikable player in baseball. I'll remember his name later. But anyway, they can flat out play, and they can play on any team. There's people like, dude, Shohei Ohtani, he's going to hit well on any team. Yes. Alex Bregman, he's going to hit well on any team. Yordan Alvarez for the Astros and Corey Seager for us. They're always going to hit. But the thing is teams are not built on those. And as a matter of fact, if there isn't chemistry, it hurts future prospects, and it hurts our ability to one day build a dynasty. Even if we have the right mix, you got to actually put it, it needs to actually stew. It needs to actually blend together. The seasoning needs to be there. Where's that dash of seasoning that's going to actually make the right dish? That's really going to be cooking. That's what I'm talking about. So that's what I got. But
what it was making me think about, and one thing I was just looking up here real quick was when the Chicago Cubs won the World Series in 2016. I mean, obviously, you know this as a baseball fan, just in general.
And a Cubs fan. I watched it. I was there. Yeah. My family's joint Cubs and Rangers fans, for those that don't know. Yes, I remember it. Know that. But go on. Yes. What were you seeing?
Well, when it was that dramatic Game 7 one, I was trying to remember his name. Obviously, you had an amazing pitching job by Chapman. I can't find his name. Maybe you know it. He was an older guy. He was kind of like a journeyman on the team. David something or other. And he hit a huge home run in that game, whether he's either to tie it or to basically put them ahead or ignite the team. What is it? David something. But he was... Yeah, he was...
No, come on, you can get it. You've got this. Come on.
No, I know. I'm trying to find it, man. It's not Drake Lee.
David Ross.
David Ross, yes.
His last game of his career
so that's what
was Game 7 of the World Series, and he got to hit a home run. And he was the catcher. And catchers do not hit well historically. He really didn't either. But, man, yes.
Dude,
his 40-year-old guy, yes.
Dude, this guy was at the prime, not even close to the prime of his career. I mean, he was on the tail end. Like you said, his batting average, if I remember, it was like not, I don't even think it was like close to 300. Like, it was not that great. He had an average year, but he came in with that veteran experience and leadership ability. And I think I heard a story, I'm going to paraphrase the story, that like at one point they went into like the dugout and he's like firing them up. Like he was basically galvanizing the team. So like maybe that's, to me, that kind of person is what the Texas Rangers are sort of missing. And maybe they can get somebody in terms of the trade deadline and get somebody in that's sort of that kind of leadership role, but I feel like that's what they're missing. I don't know. What do you think about that? Like
absolutely. And as a side note, homework assignment for you: watch or even just listen to the full game of Game 7 of the 2016 World Series.
Yeah.
It is, even counting the Game 7 2023 ALCS, even counting that series, I still unashamedly, hands down, would say the best game I have ever seen, or much less watched, best ever game, was Game 7 of the 2016 World Series. Oh my God, just absolutely so much that I could unpack there, but I'm telling you, it's free on YouTube. Go listen to it. Yeah. You don't have to do it's like 4 hours of a thing. So just listen to it. But especially as you get into the latter innings and towards the rain delay, which was very late in the game, that's where you really want to be sitting down. So like the last hour, make sure you're definitely watching that closely.
So that's what it was.
That's exactly what you're talking about. And I'm telling you, watch the whole thing for context, because I totally agree with what you're saying. Yes.
So it's like during that rain delay, he went in and he like re-galvanized them. And I think what it was somebody within the staff or somebody within the team basically said if he hadn't have done that, like they may not have kind of got it together, because they were basically on the ropes at one point. So yeah, no, I'll definitely watch that. I remember I watched like the last 2 or 3 innings live in 2016 after I'd gotten off to work, but it was only like the last 2 or 3 innings.
Yeah.
So it was special to watch. But I remember I got to go back. I do want to see the whole thing. That actually sounds like fun. Maybe
it's such an easy to watch game, such a fun game. But yeah, anyway. Honestly, but going back to what we're saying, it's just the chemistry needs to be there, but because you can go into a season with top prospects, you can go into a season with a absolutely loaded team. Like, dude, I know like you were talking about, the Irish they are going into it, but the real key and what I'd encourage to be looking out for, and as a chastisement and as a cautiously optimistic thing, but also kind of a passive aggressive, like, hey, keep your hopes realistic, right? Because I try to be the tempering influence in this, just due to all of my heartbreaks and scars from my own sports fandom. But that being said, what I'm looking for at a Notre Dame is, okay, is this coaching staff, is this pitching, are these all-stars, is your QB going to actually be performing at the level that they're actually supposed to be? But more importantly, what is that culture like? So remind me again, especially as you were talking about last time, you were really looking forward to the new coach that has been brought in, and you've got great aspirations for. You sent me that video on it, with parents can see.
Did you see it?
Yeah. So talk me through. Just remind me, especially for our audience, just brief recap. Why is it that you are so convinced? What do you think, as we're talking about culture and chemistry? What do you think this new coach? Remind me of his name as well. Yep. This new coach is bringing to the table in terms of bringing a team together, a team of all-stars, team with talent. But how could this be a winning team? What are the inklings in the culture building, the culture, the environment, the atmosphere that you're seeing that could make it, make 2025, 2026 y'all's year? What is
it? No, absolutely. And by the way, that was a very statistically average, section that you had there with the Rangers. All right. So before I get into the specific technical aspects, line by line, of what I think could propel Notre Dame to a championship, obviously the roster, a little bit of the roster that I've described, and I'd like to go a little more in depth in a little bit, but I do want to provide some corrections, because here it's statistically average. We are statistically average here. We do get a little down and out, all right? So last episode, I was a tiny bit down in some of the accuracy of my stats. But that's all right, because you know what? We just roll here, and we make our mistakes, and we correct them. All right, so one thing I did say is that I said Notre Dame currently has 12 national championships, which, is still pretty – maybe I'm just projecting for this year, right? But we actually have 11 on record. So in statistically average fashion, one was too many, but we've got 11. Now, another correction that I got to make is that Marcus Freeman, I said that he became head coach in 2022. He actually became, in 2021, the head coach. To be fair, time's a blur when your coach leaves for LSU and picks a Southern accent change, So, Mr. Brian Cayley. Definitely want to correct that. 2021 is when he came in as head coach.
Okay.
Finally, I also said that Marcus Freeman's heart condition was discovered during the draft process. But to clarify, it was actually diagnosed when he was with the Chicago Bears. So he had been drafted, cut by a couple teams, ended up with the Chicago Bears, and then they found out he had a heart condition, enlarged valve, so that he couldn't continue to play, and the doctors basically said no more. So,
as Christians, we are very much a fan of integrity here, folks. So I know it's a lot of hedging, but I sincerely appreciate it, and I look out for that's indicates a depth of character, that integrity. So thank you for clearing the record on that.
No, dude, when we're wrong, you gotta admit it and correct it. So we're not going to be perfect here, statistically average, but slightly better than maybe a Reddit thread that you're reading. So let's start off with just a little bit of, as you said, to your question, some of the aspects of the culture. I want to dig into the culture first. So one of the things that Marcus Freeman did when he first took over as head coach in 2021 is he made I guess you could say it was a marketing / public relations change within the culture, in that he basically said, we're going to start this new thing called the golden standard, right? So it's kind of got a couple meanings. Obviously golden because that is our main color. We have the golden dome that's on campus. Gold is what's associated with the university in terms of color, gold and blue. So, and obviously gold is known as like a high top tier, best of the best, creme de la creme. So he started this mantra called the golden standard. And this is something that's pervasive throughout the entire team. And for example, you can see this in current videos that they're put out over the summer. So every summer, every spring, when the team's off season, they'll put out little promo videos just to tease fans and get them excited, right? And a lot of them, it shows them working out, shows them in the gym, shows them pushing sleds outside, running crazy up the stadiums up and down, right? And always at the end of the videos, they'll get together and it'll show a team huddle. And they all put their hands up and they go, on 1, 2, 3, TGS. And the whole team goes, TGS, the golden standard. So what that is you challenge everything is one of the big things that Marcus Freeman says. Well, what do you mean challenge everything? Mm-hmm. So let's say this is a creative way, by the way, where you get players to buy into a new culture. You're setting a higher standard, and you're creating a streamlined philosophy across the board. And so what did he say? Because Notre Dame was a toxic culture, as I explained a little bit. It had a toxic culture, as I explained last time. Under Brian Kelly, there was a lot of excuse making. There was just really not like a striving for excellence every day, no excuses, own up to your mistakes, that kind of thing. There was a lot of like, it's okay, we'll figure it out later, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So Marcus Freeman, in a very wise way, understood that, but he didn't go directly and say, this is how things were done, now we're going to do it like, he said, no, now we have what's called the golden standard, where you, number one, challenge everything. Meaning, if there was a standard in the past, if there was a precedent that was set by your previous leadership, your previous coach that taught you something, challenge it. And challenge what you're being taught from us too, because he wants the players to be critical thinkers as well. So challenge everything, which means that you don't accept the status quo and you're always striving to find a better way, a better solution. And what this has led to has been a lot of like player buy-in. So you know this as a manager is like when your team feels like that they are bought in and they have input into your decisions and how the whole overall department, company, culture is going, like when they have that skin in the game, so to speak, socially, then that is a huge on-ramp to people buying in and trusting. And so that is one of the major things in terms of culture that he's instituted is the challenge everything mantra. And also living that out through his own coaching. So he's big on living and walking the walk and not just talking the talk, right?
That's huge. And especially as I was doing some more research on Notre Dame on mine, especially as you were saying, shoe on the other foot as a completely non-Notre Dame fan, much less college football fan, just being totally honest. Sorry, guys. But something that consistently came up is how much Freeman he seems to consistently emphasize things like player leadership. Yes. And authentic relationships. I mean, yes. I know that you guys there were mentions and things like there's a quote from an ESPN analyst. I can't remember which one. It was just after the Orange Bowl. It was a quote, but the quote was they play for each other more than they play for the logo. And yes. You were stressing so much last episode about the logo and the history and the fan base of Notre Dame and its diehard and all of that. But that's what struck me more. I mean, I kept seeing things like, oh man, veteran players like looking at my notes I wrote down, Xavier Watts, Riley Leonard, Joe Alt. Those were some of the key players that helped to seem to be trying to instill a culture of things like I think you were kind of alluding to like mutual accountability. Yes. Mutual hunger. Maybe some humility too. I don't know, yes. But would I be correct in all of that kind of stuff, just in terms of the culture, like the player leadership aspect, because that's what you seem to be implying, and that would be huge if that's indeed the case.
No, absolutely, and they're kind of intertwined, the history and then this new process of looking at it. And here's the funny thing, and what you're identifying there, is that actually was the culture back in the 80s when we had Lou Holtz, and also under previous coaches.
Was it?
So if you think about it, right, when you have that culture of servant leadership and really fighting for the man across from you and not for the logo, you actually dig from a deeper well in terms of your effort, your fight, your want to, this guy across me, I'm going to beat him to the best of my ability because why? I can't let my buddy down.
Yeah.
right? Because it's easy to let down a brand, and it's easy because what has the brand actually done for you, Whereas your buddy who the other day, just helped you out with your homework because you didn't understand what you were doing, and he came over to your house at 9 o'clock at night when you had the exam the next day, and he helped you out and helped you learn it. Like when you have those relationships, that's the thing is Marcus Freeman is cultivating that, and I'm going to give you an example culturally of that because your point is exactly on point. We have this new program that was instituted a couple of years ago, and it's basically like a player development program within the program, and not just within football, but they develop them professionally, networking, building their LinkedIn profiles. They'll have like mixers for meeting people in the area of field that they're actually interested in beyond their football career. So let's say, for example, somebody is a business major and they want to be within, they want to run a company one day. They will actually throw like a business-oriented mixer under the Mendoza College of Business, and they'll invite the Notre Dame football players along with former Notre Dame football players who did the same thing. Maybe they're a business major and they've run a business themselves, or people who went to the university in general and graduated and have run successful companies, which there's many, many examples of that. So like
the
you
importance
have this
of
holistic approach.
Team bonding activities on and off the field, how rare that is, but how significant that is. And the fact that Notre Dame is recognizing its value, that does make a statement. Wow.
It does. It does. So you have like a multiple prong approach by Marcus Freeman in cultivating that internal trust between each other. And it's not just like a one thing where it's like, yeah, okay, we have this mantra, right? It's no, like this golden standard is real. And what that means is we care about you as the whole person. And so that's not just your football talent and acumen that we're going to develop. We're going to develop you personally, right? We're going to encourage you to attend, because they have Catholic services on the campus. He encourages you to talk about your faith, to practice your faith. He encourages the teammates and the players to network with businesses. And not even just that, like they hired a whole nutritional training staff in the past couple years for the purpose of not just cooking for the players. They've had that instituted for a while.
Of course, yeah.
But this is specifically to train the players on how to cook for themselves. So as we know, teach a man to fish.
Teach a man to fish, yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So that's exactly what he's doing from a big picture level is these are kids, 18 to 21 years old, stepping on a college campus. Yeah, there are these football players and they have this almost celebrity status, but they're kids. Their mom's probably done a lot of their laundry, at some point, like growing up in their lives. Like they need to be equipped and trained on how to be men. And so he's put in these different programs, right, to expand them, not just football-wise, but just as a holistic person. And so you see when the players talk about him, there was, and just to touch real quick, there was right after the national championship game when Notre Dame had lost last year.
Yeah.
Jack Kaiser, who was the captain, he had been at Notre Dame for 6 years. He had the COVID year and he was injured, so he ended up having 2 extra years of eligibility. And after the game, he's sitting right next to Marcus Freeman. Obviously, you know this as a Rangers fan, like 2010. You know what it's like. You see those players; they are just dejected. And Jack Kaiser, like, has one of the most genuine moments I've ever seen as a sports guy. Like, a reporter asked him a question, like, what do you feel like Notre Dame's come since you've been here, since where you were when you had a 4-8 season to now, where you guys are basically played for a national championship and made it a close game. Like, how is Notre Dame doing? Do you have faith that you guys can keep it going? And he starts like weeping in front of all of these reporters on national TV saying, it's about the people here at Notre Dame. That's what makes this place different. Like under Coach Freeman, meeting guys like Riley Leonard, the quarterback, who, by the way, is a devout believer. After every game, he talks about Jesus as his Lord and Savior. So like you have this sort of common thread of Christian faith, servanthood, and that's the emphasis, is loving people in the most holistic way possible within the university. And so Jack is just explaining this, and he just said, I'm always going to remember my time here. Like, this is a special place. I'm like so sad to leave, but you see it, like, as a fan base, you see that, and that's like going back to the entire culture where it was before. Like, that stuff didn't happen before, where you had guys just so invested, right, and believing and trusting in their head coach. So to fully answer your question, like, there's just so many things culturally that Marcus Freeman has implemented and is now going into his 4th year that he's really investing in these guys. And your research is absolutely on point, for sure.
Absolutely. No, that's okay. That's encouraging. I'm glad that I wasn't super off base there, because I do want to make sure that, statistically accurate if average, is what we're going after. But even to your point, what I'm hearing a lot of, and it's something that resonates with me personally and spiritually, which is what I'm hearing is leadership development is is absolutely being prioritized, at least by Freeman, but it's actually bearing fruit. It's actually yielding results, which is why it's coming up in even just a total uninterested person's just casual research, just to sound more informed on a stupid little podcast. But why that resonates with me, that concept of leadership development, that I'm a manager at work. I work for a contractor, and it's a Christian-based company. But what we stress the most, and what will actually get you promoted, is not top-level proficiency. That's not really what makes it. I mean, you can be an A player that way. You can make great bonuses and all this blah 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 blah. But that's not what defines. Hey, what makes you stand out, and what really gets you on the fast track, on the upward track towards getting promoted even further. Climbing the ranks in the company. And it's what actually defines it is leadership development. Because here's the thing: solid company, solid organizations. Most of them, they're full of leaders. You can have leaders that are just total jerks, frankly, and a lot of times they are, especially in high tension sports such as football, especially college football. My goodness, the culture around that. I mean, a bunch of young guys that are just full of testosterone and blood and vinegar, and it's the same thing, and they look for that, and you want to have that hungry mindset and all of that. But there are a whole lot of people that can be leaders. There are very, very few that can develop teams of leaders.
Correct.
That actually want others to lead in their stead. That is what marks the best leaders, is not as opposed to dictators or bosses. That's what separates what the term boss from manager, or from a-hole, something terrible to versus a coach, versus a trainer, versus somebody who's genuinely trying to come alongside and raise them up so that they know how to identify and raise up others on the spot for you. It's not about laziness so that I don't have to lead as much, but the value of actually being able to dive in and see, hey, I see this top talent in the leadership aspect. They don't have to be an all-star. But if you equip people with the necessary skills, if you are the college football version of, hey, creating fishers of men, of disciples, if you are commissioning others, then you are truly having a ripple effect, and you are going to build a team, not directly, it's going to be entirely indirect, but you are going to be able to build a team that has excellent chemistry, that is good, that is approachable, that is legendary, that is fun to be a part of, that wants to win too, not for the sake of winning, not for the sake of when and where they're going to get drafted for the NFL, not for their coach because they're just scared of their coach, who they rule by fear, but they're doing it just because they want to support their other team members, because they love and they care for them so much. That's what's resonating with me the most. So hopefully my read is correct in my conclusion there. But that's what I'm hearing.
It is, and one of the big things, like when I talk about, because as you know, and as some of you guys are going to learn on this podcast, like me and Nate, we're believers, right? And one of the things that we do weekly is a weekly discipleship with one another, right? So we'll meet, we'll talk about scripture. We've been in the book of James lately, which is, for anybody who hasn't read it, number one, if you're not a Christian, I absolutely recommend, if somebody who pursues truth, that is a great book of the Bible to just start with, because you will see aspects that are just absolutely true in reality. And it's definitely a gut punch to maybe ego or things that you may believe, but it's something that anybody who's just a critical thinker and likes to think and enjoys truth should absolutely read.
It's objective reality, yes.
Objective reality, absolutely. And so, we'll start with reading a book in the book of James, and every single time that you read this scripture, it literally it just somehow, whatever you're going through that week, somehow it connects to a specific point within whether it's Nate's going through something specific or me that's going through something specific. And what that does is Proverbs talks about ironing sharpening iron. And so what you have is two guys who are coming together, both that want to improve and both want to be closer to God and want to grow that relationship with God. And so what ends up happening is just like when you take a sword, old school, right, medieval days, you take that sword, you go into the furnace, it heats it up. But after it gets heated up, right, so you're reading it, you're getting a little heated, what happens is your buddy comes in with a hammer and starts hammering it and forms you and makes you sharper and stronger for the future. And so that's exactly what Christian discipleship does, is you're reading God's word and it influences you, it heats you up, it reveals some things, and then after that happens, like you said, the iron comes in and it gets beaten down and you end up becoming more more of who you were designed to be, right? And so that's the beauty of it. And so we see this reflected at the culture at Notre Dame. So a quick example of that is Riley Leonard, who was the quarterback last year, who transferred from Duke. Now he just went to the NFL. But when he was in, he actually started a Bible study amongst the whole team. And I think close to the numbers, it was around 40 to 45 guys on a 110-person team, which, do the math, that's not statistically average.
No, that's incredible.
Is.
That's why I said, wow, that's like, Bible studies aren't rare, but that many in a
that
college
many.
Football team?
On a
What?
college football team, yeah. And a lot of the guys who didn't have a faith before, right? Because you would think, oh, of course, Catholic University, right? The guys going to it are going to have some sort of faith in some sort of way. It's not actually true.
Institutional faith is not faith in my mind. No, it's not. It's not.
Yeah, so a lot of those guys who went to that Bible study maybe weren't as progressed in their faith, or they didn't have a certain level that they wanted to be, or they weren't really close to God in that sense. But Riley was known around campus as being somebody who was completely open about his faith and was intentional about making disciples. And so he did that on his football team, and that was one of the biggest parts that people describe him as like a humble leader. Like, he's somebody who just comes in with such a humility and genuineness, and he's like, hey, I'm here, I'm a Christian, I'm going to start this Bible study, come on and join. And listen, when you lead your team to a national championship, you have to say that there was an influence, and to say that there isn't being totally honest, you know what I mean? So, like, it's a really big part of the culture now, especially under Marcus Freeman, because, like I've mentioned in the last podcast, he's also a Christian as well, and he's open about his faith. And like, one of the things he always says is, after a big loss or just a really hard time with all the pressure in the world, he always says, what is God teaching me right here? He's teaching me something that I don't know. And that's very hard to see when you're in deep suffering and deep pain. So,
but you know what?
It's just the culture around the campus is that. Yeah,
you know what? That it's, even if you don't see it yourself in the moment, others do. Well, what comes to mind in my mind with that is the verse is Matthew chapter 5 verse 16, which says, "In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven."
Yes.
Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good works and give glory. Because here's the thing, they may be drawn and or gravitate toward it. If you are that light to the world, as it says in Psalm 119 as well, it does shine through. So do it as if for the Lord and not for men. That's yet another reference that I could make in a paraphrase, and I don't have the reference for that one. But that's what's standing out there. So that sounds like some fantastic stuff that's going on. That's actually really, really encouraging with Notre Dame, and something I'd really love to see with the Texas Rangers. But yeah, I guess we're gonna have to see if it actually results in the earthly wins that that we're here to talk about for Notre Dame. So
we'll see, man. And just real quick, I want to touch on.
Yeah.
So that was obviously amazing culturally. Really quick, I've mentioned about the 2026 recruiting class, high school players that are being recruited to Notre Dame. And July 4th weekend was a massive, massive weekend for the Fighting Irish. All right, I just want to quickly go through the commits we got. So in total, over the last 2 weeks, we've gotten 4 commitments. 3 of them were on that July 4th weekend, which is, for context, as somebody who's more baseball than football, that doesn't happen in recruiting. You maybe get like one recruit every 3 months or so, but you never get them like back to back, and they were all good players. So let me start with this. The first one that we have is Devin Fitzgerald. He's the son of Larry Fitzgerald, you may have heard of, who was a Hall of Famer in the NFL. 6'2", 205. As I mentioned the star rankings before, he is a 3-star out of 5-star. So he's not rated as the top tier echelon players at a high school, but he's seen as a middle of the road player. But one of the big things that Marcus Freeman believes in is, if you have the genetics, that probably is a good chance that you will develop even if you aren't that way in high school. So I think he might develop into somebody really special.
Think so?
He's known to be a great route runner. He has a big catch radius with that big frame, 6'2". Obviously a good football IQ, being with his dad, teaching him everything. So yeah, it was a great get. Now, the more impressive get was Kadon Finley, another wide receiver that we got. He's the son of Jermichael Finley, and Jermichael Finley was a great tight end in the league for many years. So Caden Finley, he's 6'1", 200 pounds. He's a 4-star receiver, so he's on more of the upper echelon for Notre Dame. And we haven't had great wide receiver recruiting the past couple years, so this is very big in terms of a narrative turnaround from wide receiver recruiting. So the last one that we got on July 4th weekend is Braden Robinson. This kid is insanely electric. He's 5'8", and by the way, insiders say that that's generous. This kid's probably more like 5'7", 5'6". 160, 165 pounds, high 4-star player, so he's really good. He had 79 receptions for 1,119 yards, 15 touchdowns as a junior in high school, which is ridiculous. 15 touchdowns.
That's insane.
His 100-meter dash speed is a 10.5, so he's electric. His ability to accelerate once he gets the football is top tier. He's newer to the game from what I understand, but this guy could be really big impact onto the team. Now, lastly, this was a few days ago, we got 3-star safety Nick Reddish. He is sort of similar in that mold of, I mentioned in the last episode, how Marcus Freeman knows how to identify players who may not be on the top tier echelon of the 4 or 5-star, but they are a high 3-star, but he sees the talent that may not be identified, because there's just so many players to look at in high school.
Right, no, duh, yeah.
So yeah, Nick Reddish, I watched his film actually a couple nights ago. He looks legit. I mean, this is the thing with this. Mike Mickens, our defensive back coach, which Nick Reddish is a defensive back, by the way. He's projected to be a strong safety. This kid is a thumper. I've watched him. He's going down, laying guys out. Good catch-up speed. There was this one clip where the guy's running down the sideline, and he chases him down, hits the guy, fumbles it out. So he looks like a really solid player, super underrated. So Irish fans were definitely excited to have those 4 recruits. So we had an electric recruiting 4th of July weekend, and then the next week later, we had Nick Reddish commit. So, yeah, I mean, we had 3 different archittypes in those receivers. You have your outside big guy, Fitzgerald. You had your more possession big guy, Finley. And then your elite slot speed guy, 10.5, 100-meter, Robinson. So Mike Denbrock, the offensive coordinator for Notre Dame, really picked up some great gets over the last 2 weeks. Just amazing recruiting. Haven't seen this in my lifetime as a Notre Dame fan. Just the recruiting is special.
Wow.
We'll see how that translates in the future, but we're excited.
Especially as we get into your first few games are as you were talking about. But hey, I mean, you've got A&M as your second game, but even your first and third games and the situations there. As I was looking into it, it's the real question is, hey, we got some great picks, but hey, development opportunities. What I hear with that, especially when you're talking about high schoolers being recruited.
Yep.
What I hear is, hey, developments and opportunities are great, but opportunities don't win ball games.
No. No,
you need to develop first, and you guys are going to be thrown right into the lion's den when it comes to your first 3 games. So it's going to be a true trial by fire for some of these new guys. So let's see how this what sounds like Christian-centered and leadership development focused culture. Let's see if that actually manages to develop the team members and develop that chemistry and really get them to spark.
Absolutely.
Right off the get-go. I'm looking forward to watching that first game with you, man.
Absolutely. And as many of you guys may not know, we will actually, at least I will be doing a live podcast from Miami. I'll be at the game. So in the stadium, I won't be doing it, but we'll arrange something, and we'll obviously put something out to let you guys know exactly how and when that's going to happen. So it's going to be exciting stuff, man. As the Rangers are developing and they're getting into the final, last quarter of the baseball season, man, we'll see if the Rangers can really lock in on that plate discipline, as it seems that the explosion of the offense has picked up a little bit. Yeah. But we'll see if that they can really take that next step, and hopefully maybe some leadership will develop. We'll see. That is, the jury's still out on that one, my friend. And then on Notre Dame's side, I mean, the only one setback that we did have in the last 2 weeks is that our starting right guard, Charles Jagasaw, who is 6'6", 330, huge, projected to be either a first or second team All-American, which means one of the top 2 players at his position in the entire country for college football.
All right.
He broke his arm over July 4th weekend. So on July 5th, he was in Wyoming, had an ATV accident. We don't know exactly the word is that he wasn't going crazy and whipping around, but it was sort of like a freak accident.
He's a flounder. He's a flounder.
He's such
a flounder. Oh my god.
So he may be out the first couple months, but it's the optimistic take on it is that it's looking like he could be back. He just had surgery. He's recovering now. He could be back mid-season, so maybe around October, November. Probably more so November is when he's projected to return. The good news is we are very deep at the offensive line. So we've got guys that can fill that spot and come in right away. Sullivan Absher, he's a massive player. 6'7", 330, huge player. He was a 4-star recruit out of high school, really good player. So he's the most likely projected pick to come in and fill that spot for at least the first couple months until Jagasaw works his way back in. The other one, and this is my sleeper pick, and this is where I'll transition out here, is Gerby Lambert. He was a 5-star top recruit out of high school 2 years ago. Redshirted last year. He is, they say he's the biggest offensive lineman on the team. I think he's around more like 340. He's a big boy. And so we'll see if maybe that younger talent is going to be better than Absher in terms of who's going to win out that battle. So they're in fall camp, which is starting up soon, next couple weeks here. We're going to see that's going to be a position battle that I really want to focus in on and see who is going to win that one, because that is going to set the tone, as you said, going into the University of Miami as our first game in Miami, Florida, and then against Texas A&M, which, as a Texas Rangers fan and as somebody from the state, A&M is a tough team to play every year. So,
if you're gonna break, here's what I'll say: is if you're gonna break your arm, off season is the time to do it. So yeah, if you're gonna miss time beginning of the season while you have depth in the lineup. Is the time you're pretty that's the best case scenario if you're gonna have a broken arm. So that's nice to see. Hey, we're looking forward to seeing how these potential sleeper picks end up stepping up to the plate in the football sense, stepping up to the line of scrimmage in this sense, and seeing how they contribute to the team in these first couple of hard games. But all right, well, bottom line is I think that our passion for our teams is still
they're fully evident.
Between us and for us, our passion is still pretty statistically average.
Now,
but compared to everybody else, probably not. Yeah.
No, absolutely. We are so average, my friend. Now, just real quick before we head out here, I want to know, Texas Rangers, you guys got some games tonight? Does I understand it?
Correct.
Who you guys playing?
Yeah, so we're heading into the All-Star break, so that's going to be starting. All-Star break is going to be next week, so we've got this weekend series. If I remember correctly, is it 3 or 4 games with versus the Astros? So we just had our first game versus the Astros last night. That is absolutely massive, and what I'm really looking forward to is, as I already said, after the All-Star break, seeing if we can pull it together. But if we can dominate this series with the Astros, not only are they our rivals, but they are they're also at the top of the division right now. There are interdivisional rivals.
I didn't realize
so the thing is every game we beat them in is 2 games closer to actually surpassing them. So the thing is if we can absolutely wipe the floor with the Astros in this series, if we can pull that off, just take out a little bit of air out of their tires like we did in the 2023 ALCS. If we can pull that off, not only will that be a tremendous boost, especially given the fact that we only had 1 pick from our team for the All-Star team.
Wow.
And it was Jacob deGrom. Not only, especially with that in mind, if we can go into the All-Star break and then they can be practicing hard and they can be synergizing hard, hopefully, and game planning and strat and just really just getting after it, but also able to take a quick breather. But if we can go into the All-Star break having steamrolled the Astros, we will be that much closer to actually surpassing it. And I think it'll put us in a really great spot to actually have some high momentum and be able to just continue that into the stratosphere once we come back in late July. So a week or 2 from now. So we're going to see, man. We're going to see.
I'm expecting you to send me a video screaming like a little girl if they win tonight, and if they win the next couple games. Check the group chat, y'all.
We'll post it on the channel. Yeah, we totally will. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, awesome. I can't wait, man. Can't wait.
That's exciting stuff, bro. All right. Well, as we say, guys, down and out, but statistically average, right? We're 2 friends, 2 buddies, and these are just our coping mechanisms, and we are turning this into content 1 episode at a time. I'm Connor, lifelong Notre Dame football fan. For my friend Nate here, Texas Rangers loyalist. We will see you next time on the Down and Out but Statistically Average podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one. See you guys.
Bye, guys. Bye.